Welcome to the Good Life, Great Careers podcast. My name is Brian Civic, and I am the Director of Workforce Training and Development. And joining me again today is my co-host, Caitlin Betts, who is the Director of Talent Acquisition for the state of Nebraska. Our goal with this podcast, if you're new to listening to it, is we want to evangelize all of the great career opportunities found within Nebraska state government. There are literally hundreds of openings right now in Nebraska state government, and a lot of people don't realize Nebraska state government is one of the largest, most diverse employers in the state. From trade jobs to executive level jobs to professional level jobs, you name it, you can pretty much do it in Nebraska state government. So to check out any of these opportunities that we have, or any other career opportunity within state government, go to statejobs.nebraska.gov and click on Find a State Job link. Joining us today to share a little bit about his own career journey, as well as some of the opportunities within his agency, is Mark Fisher. Mark is currently a research program manager for the Department of Transportation. He's been a state teammate for about 16 years, and I actually just met him earlier this year as we were both students in the Governor's Leadership Academy. And as he shared with me at that time a little bit about his career and what he is currently doing with the Department of Transportation, I thought he would be a great guest to come onto the podcast and share a little bit about his journey and his experience. I also believe, Mark, you are the first Nebraska Department of Transportation teammate we've had on the podcast, and so you get that distinctive honor as well. So want to welcome you. Thank you for joining us and spending some time with us. And so I just want to hand it over to you to get to know you a little bit. So if you'd be so willing, just share a little bit about yourself with our listeners.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for having me, Brian. It's been good getting to know you. But yeah, about me, I'm born and raised here in Nebraska. I spent kind of my early childhood in Beatrice, Nebraska, which was down the southeast corner. Went to high school in York, Nebraska, and then came to Lincoln for college. And, beyond that, I stayed here. I stuck around Lincoln for early career, and now I'm married with two little boys. In my free time, when I'm not playing with those two little guys or spending time with my wife, I like to play basketball, build metal models, or, watch TV.
So research program manager, what does that involve?
So research program manager is basically managing our federal transportation funds specifically designed for transportation research. So we get a lot of federal funds, for construction of the roadway system, but just a small portion of those funds get put into a research program. And so as a research program manager, what I'm really doing is making sure that we meet federal rules and requirements for spending that money, as well as making sure that our program is sustainable and making sure that the projects are running smoothly. And so the fun thing is right now we're just getting proposals for our next year's program right now. So kind of the process of the research that we look for is it starts in the summer where we request ideas. We hold what are called the Nebraska Transportation Research Council meetings, where we have NDOT personnel as well as maybe local community folks, consultants come in and hear these research ideas, and that kind of group, that council, helps us develop and pick which projects they feel like would benefit the transportation industry the most. Okay. Kind of once we've gotten those selected, normally we get about 50 ideas a year, and we kind of trim that down to about 20 to 22 projects where we say, hey, we think these would make good proposals. And so you go from like a one-sheet statement of need or research idea to like between 10 and 20 page research proposal, which is what we're getting right now from the university. And it's really open to anyone. We get consultants submit ideas. We have research professors, obviously, from universities submit ideas. Some of the ideas come from DOT staff or, counties or cities, those sorts of people. But overall, the majority come from the university. And once we get those proposals, we bring them before the Research Advisory Committee, which is a group of administrators at NDOT, and they really look at the merits of the proposals. And then we have between $1.5 to $2 million a year that is associated with the research program, and we select from those 22 proposals basically the number that fits into the budget basically of that about $2 million.
Okay.
So what type of research projects are you selecting from?
Yeah, so that's a great question. We have the obvious main players are materials related or structural related, but for example, we have research projects that are looking at how to use more recycled asphalt in our asphalt pavements. So recycled asphalt has been put into pavements for quite a while, but what happens is because the binder is aged, it ends up not lasting quite as long as if you used all new material. And so they're looking at different additives to add into the recycled material to make it last almost as long as if you had used all new material. So that'd be an example of like that. We've also done, one's just starting, it's a rattlesnake tagging program that they're going to do in southeast Nebraska, where they're going to go capture rattlesnakes and track where they're going to, because they're a protected species. And so they want to know exactly where the snakes are going, because we want to make sure that when we do construction, we take countermeasures if we're in the path of an endangered species, or be able to modify the construction contract in a way that we mitigate risk in kind of those protected species areas.
One thing that with your story that interested me, so when I met you in the Governor's Leadership Academy and we were talking, you were sharing a little bit about yourself. You started out as an intern while you were going to UNL, and then built a career from there. So I was wondering if you could talk about that a little bit. One, your education background, and then the internship, and then how that led to really where you are now, your career journey.
Sure. So I came to Lincoln for university in 2001, and I graduated with a civil engineering degree. I guess I should say, let me back up. When I was in school, I did start as an intern in the bridge division. And really I was just like drafting plans, kind of doing intern stuff, So it was so I was around engineering concepts and ideas and around engineers, but it was mostly drafting and basically putting plan sets together. And so as I was in school, I really enjoyed being an intern. I liked the flexibility. All the people were good, and I was learning, quite a bit. And so once I graduated, that was in 2006, and the economy was pretty good, and I was just kind of shopping around, looking at my different options because the economy was good. And so I, had a few different offers, and ultimately I chose the state just because the people were good. I got an offer to stay in the bridge division, so I was able to basically transfer from student to full-time. I wouldn't call it seamlessly, but it was a very easy transition. And so some of what went into that decision was, you always hear about pay, and it's true, it didn't pay the most, but when you factored in the benefits, it was relatively competitive with some of the private offers that I had gotten. And then you factor in kind of the, maybe the non-pay items like, working a set schedule, having kind of a flexible schedule, those sorts of things. It really made me feel like the state was a great place to be. And so starting out, I was a bridge design engineer, put together plan sets for bridges, did calculations for kind of all the different components that make up a bridge. After that, I kind of transitioned to the roadway design department, which is kind of the hub of designing. So you would interact with the bridge division, the environmental group, our kind of project scheduling and program management group, and just you kind of collected it all of the design package, and then you would turn it into our contracts group, which was a really great experience, obviously. And then from there, I transitioned into our program management group, which is the group that runs our schedules. We have about 100 to 120 projects every year that are going out the door, and they range in schedule from maybe 18 months, all the way up to maybe 6-7 years, just depending on the scope of the project. So you can have a real simple project where you're just kind of taking off the initial layer, a small layer of asphalt, and putting it back down. That doesn't take a whole lot of design. It just is really putting together contract documents. And then you have something like the South Beltway that takes, you've seen in the news, I think, 60 years or something like that, to put together. But, not all of that's design time or environmental clearance. But so the program management group just manages all, those hundreds of projects, because we plan in basically a 6-year segment, just to make sure that you always have projects that are coming in and ready to be let for bid. And then I had a small little stop in strategic planning, where I was the planning engineer and kind of helped out with our metropolitan planning organization. So Lincoln, Omaha, Grand Island, and South Sioux City all have a planning organization, and kind of just helped in that area before I landed in the research program manager spot.
That's awesome. I love the way you've grown your career at the state. It's a great story, and it's awesome to hear. What do you feel has really benefited you as you have been able to do that in advancing your career?
I guess I would say NDOT is a large organization, and that was, I guess I should say, another reason that I looked at, as far as like there are so many different opportunities coming out, whether you're coming out of school with a civil engineering degree or a biology degree. There's environmental, there's, if you're on the engineering side, there's bridges, there's roadway, there's geotechnical, like the soils group. There is really so many different roads that you can go inside of the Department of Transportation that you really, it's like a design firm in itself. Like you don't have to go anywhere else. If you're interested in something, you can find that niche inside of the DOT. And so that really kind of spoke to me, as far as, hey, if I don't want to do bridges, or if I don't want to design bridges anymore, I can go look at something else to do. And so, without having to change an organization. So I think that's really what helped me inside of make this my career, is, hey, there's so many diverse opportunities inside the DOT.
That's awesome.
So for your agency, Department of Transportation, are there any current positions that you're aware of? I know you're not in the HR area and stuff like that, mm-hmm. and recruitment, but are there areas that you know of or hear about that maybe they're struggling to fill, that any pain points where we could evangelize some of that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've heard out on the maintenance crews, it's really tough to get the maintenance guys, the ones that are out there filling potholes and doing that. Like, that's been a pretty tough position to fill. We've also had a tough time filling engineering positions. Our roadway design group is down quite a few positions. I want to say they were down like 20% or something like that. Like, they have 20% unfilled positions there. So those are two groups that I know of for sure that we're really struggling to find help in. But other than that, I don't think I have a good feel. I know that there's other areas that, I think there isn't probably a spot in DOT that doesn't have an open position, So
it's a great opportunity, right?
Right. Yeah, definitely. If you're interested in roads and any of the processes, for sure. Like I said, whether you're interested in environmental things, we have an environmental group that hires biologists, looks at threatened and endangered species. We have people that look at watersheds and how water moves through the road system. We have design engineers, obviously, in the bridge and the roadway design sections. And then we have quite a number of testing labs here in Lincoln that do all of the sample testing for our construction projects. So breaking concrete cylinders, pulling rebar, testing aggregates and soil, so testing binder and asphalt samples. So
cool.
Yeah, lots of opportunity.
Yeah. You alluded to it a little bit earlier when you were talking about your own career journey, and you just mentioned again that there's maybe some opportunity for engineers. What would you say to someone that was looking for an engineering role and maybe hadn't considered the state? What advice would you give?
I would say, at the DOT, I have found in every division that I've been in, very helpful people. So when I started out, there was lots and lots of people that said, hey, here's a design example. If you need help, let me show you how to do it. And I think for me, starting out in my career, it was very helpful to be on a team that just wants to see you succeed. I don't know if that's true, in other agencies or, in the private sector. I don't know. But I would say for me, that was extremely helpful in my early career, knowing that I could just go talk to the design engineer in the next cube and say, hey, I'm struggling with this. How do you do it? Or, can you show me an example or, help me through this process? And so I would say that type of attitude is kind of throughout the DOT, in the divisions that I've worked in. I think, for me, probably my number one reason for staying where I'm at is the people. I think there are people that are interested in serving their community, in really wanting to help others. I think the DOT provides a unique space to do that. It gives you a place to grow. If you want to be in the engineering field, multiple opportunities to develop yourself there professionally. And then, like I said, I feel like the teamwork and just the ability to help others or help your teammates succeed is unparalleled. Now, I'm biased. I started out there and have stayed there, but I've never had a reason to leave.
Yeah, that's great.
And we continuously hear the great work environment and teammates. And so I love that you shared that as well. I think that's really true. If you're looking for great coworkers, colleagues, and doing meaningful work, the state's a great place. So thank you for sharing about your personal experience with that. Before we wrap up here, we want to have a little fun, though, put you on the hot seat. Hopefully nothing controversial, but,
Sure.
Just to have a little fun. So if you're ready, I'll start with the first question.
Okay.
All right. What's your favorite and least favorite ice cream flavors?
Favorite would be probably just plain chocolate. And least favorite, probably bubblegum, which used to be my favorite as a kid. Now it kind of grosses me out.
I'm with you on that. No thanks. How about your favorite movie genre?
Genre would probably be action.
That's a good one. Dream vacation destination?
Probably to go back to Hawaii. I went there for a honeymoon, and
Nice.
We'd love to go back. It's the most beautiful place I've ever been.
Biggest pet peeve?
Ooh. Probably waste, being wasteful.
Yeah. Do you have a nickname?
Not really. In high school, people called me Fish, but that was,
And again, with that short 4 letters.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose Mark is hard to kind of shorten into a nickname.
Yeah. So, there was, I mentioned I had brothers and sisters. So when I was in high school, I had a younger sister and a younger brother. And, our last name was Fisher. And so there was big fish and little fish and, it's high school.
Yeah. If you could have dinner with anyone in the world, living or dead, who would it be?
I'd say probably Jesus.
Any final advice for someone starting out on their career?
I would say if you choose the state, don't be afraid to ask questions. I can't emphasize enough the people really want to help you succeed. And I feel like when I was early in my career, I should have asked more questions than I did.
That's great advice.
That's really good advice.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Well, Mark, thank you again for your time today. It's been fun getting to know you and learning more about your career journey here at the state of Nebraska and the Department of Transportation. For our listeners, if you want to check out our great career opportunities, including those with the Nebraska Department of Transportation, go to statejobs.nebraska.gov and click on that Find a State Job link. While you're there, you can also find links to our Nebraska State Jobs social media channels, including Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter. We'd love to have you follow us there to learn more about other great career opportunities with the state as well. You can also check us out on YouTube. Just search for the Nebraska Department of Administrative Services. And when you're there, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you're notified of future content, including podcast episodes as they become available. Again, on behalf of our guest, Mark, my co-host, Brian, and myself, Caitlin, I want to thank you for tuning in and learning more about the great careers here in The Good Life.